Welcome to Make Ready TV, where the world's most professional firearms instructors teach you one-on-one. I'm Kyle, standing in for Matt, who's on assignment in England this week.
I'm Kaylee Jeans, and what is Matt doing in England?
I bet him $100 he couldn't find the Stig and take his helmet off.
The Stig from Top Gear.
Same one. Easy money.
And in our tactical training segment, we go to Travis Haley and review the AK safety lever.
And in our self-defense segment, Michael Bane talks about stress inoculation.
And in our third segment, Massad Ayoob reviews home security.
And in our pro tips, we'll hear tips from Dean Caputo and Bob Vogel.
And now let's go to Travis Haley.
Let's talk about the safety and the manipulation of the safety on the AK series of rifles. Lots of schools of thought out there. First school of thought, or old school manual of arms, is when you get into a gunfight, keep the safety off. Okay, so you would basically come off safe and start to work the gun. And then at that point, you would keep your finger straight and off the trigger and touching the magazine release housing here and putting pressure on it. So I would run the rest of the fight like this. And then when I got to an opportunity, I'd put the safety up. Problem with this, I'm going to keep the safety up for this as I'm working around the trigger here, but it would be off in this case, is putting pressure with the nail bed on the magazine release, okay, on that little part of the metal, the housing there. And pressing down on it is what would keep it straight. By putting pressure and torquing my finger on that piece of metal, basically will prevent me from having my finger slip in on the trigger, whether I fall or trip and fall or get bumped by somebody else or get in, just pile drive by somebody, fall off of something, whatever the case may be, that finger should stay there. The other technique is actually to insert your finger into the trigger guard and have an outward camming motion. So basically I'm camming the gun outward. Now you can see this is a little bit shady, but if you have a good solid grip, it shouldn't be able to pull the trigger to the rear because I'm pressing outward here, okay? And I'm just referencing the trigger. Again, the concept is if with good tension in the hand and the wrist, this should not go to the rear and pull the trigger, okay? Again, the concept, on top of it not being able to pull the trigger under stress, is to have the finger already placed around the trigger so you have a fast shot when you come up on target. So you don't have to sweep something off and then come into the target. Well, here's my theory on that. Number one is I believe they're both unsafe. I need a safety on this gun because also it's one more cognizant thing that I have to do before I take a person's life. Number two is that putting my finger inside the trigger guard, and if I do fall, well, maybe my finger stays off, maybe it goes on and goes off. Or worst case, what if I relinquish control of the fire control grip and transition my gun, go hands-on something, and now something in my gear gets caught on the trigger? That's when I start to worry. Not about me being able to control my trigger finger and saying, hey, this is my safety. That's not the point. It's other things. It's other things in your disruptive environment that are going to make this gun possibly go off. So we keep the safety on. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration real quick, and I'll let you decide what you think you should do. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've got my shot timer here. I'm going to fire one round with each technique. The first technique is I'm going to press on that forward portion, finger straight off the trigger and outside the trigger guard. And then when I'm coming up on target, I'll start to prep and pull, okay? So again, the safety is going to be off in this position as if I've already been in a gunfight and I'm running around. And I'm going to do this from the relaxed position. Okay, relaxed position, safety's off, and here goes the timer. Okay, so the second one, I'm actually going to insert my finger into the trigger. That time was 7.3, by the way, 0.73 to that first shot. Inserting the finger and camming, okay? So let's try that from the relaxed position. .73 again, exact same time, okay? Now, I'm going to use the safety like it's intended to be used. Under stress, how I carry the gun is kind of, now a lot of people will complain about this because they can't reach that safety, so they'll come up here, they'll take it off with their thumb, they'll reacquire fire control and they'll fire. And that's why they say, well, I'm just going to keep the safety off. But if you just rotate your fingers forward, you can access with your fingers the safety, and then go right to the trigger. So let's see if that's any slower or any faster. Okay, 0.53. 0.53, they're all about the same speed. That did not slow me down at all. So if people say it slows them down, well, they're only slowing themselves down. It doesn't slow everybody down, because it didn't slow me down because I practiced consistently by using this safety. Okay, back on, back on, back on. Practice, practice, practice. That'll make you fast. By just saying it's slow because it's a big hunking piece of metal and I got to do other things, you're just making yourself slow. So think about those processes. Think about the controversies. Think about the old school manual of arms. Again, that old and the new. And speaking of new, there's lots of new things out there. Like here's a Krebs custom safety. I don't even need to shift my hands forward anymore. I can just ride kind of like a gas pedal. Take it off, put it back on. If you're running a Yugo type variant, they're on the side too, so you can actually get into them a little bit easier. So these are really easy aftermarket pieces to put on your rifles. They don't cost that much, and it'll make you a little bit more efficient to where you don't have to grab that grip again on fire control. It's already there. But as you can see, even doing the old traditional bring down the safety with the middle finger and the index finger, it was just as fast, if faster, than the other two techniques. So again, safety comes first. It's not so much you and what you're in control of, because you don't get to choose the moment and you don't get to choose the environment. When it happens to you, it's typically when bad things happen in the unexpected. So make sure you're running your safety and being a safer shooter.
Make Ready TV is brought to you by FNH USA, Smith & Wesson, TNVC, Adorama, and Pro Ears.
You got to respect the AK platform. I've been on the receiving end of it enough to know.
Thankfully, that is something I will never have to say. Hopefully. Now let's go to Michael Bane.
If you've watched any of our television programs, if you've listened to the Downrange Radio podcast for the last 2 or 3 years, you will know that I am a huge, huge fan of competition. I think there is no better way to learn gun handling skills than to compete. It's like, say, buying a piano. I could buy a piano and set it in my house. I could walk past that piano every day and I could tell everybody that I know that I have a piano, but unless I practice, I can't play that piano well. There's another really important element to competition, and I call that stress inoculation. It's perfectly fair to say that the stress of competition is fake stress. I mean, there's a guy holding a timer to your head, not a gun to your head, and if you really fail to do a good job on the stage, they're not going to bury you there. But the thing is that artificial stress inoculates you against real stress. In the same way that cowpox, a milder version of the disease, guards you against smallpox, the deadly disease. Every time you step up to the line, that buzzer goes off and you have to complete a course of fire. You're getting a little bit of an inoculation in stress. You're having to function under stress. And here's an interesting and very, very important point. People learn best under stress. Remember, we talk about the inner monkey, we talk about that evolutionary wiring. Part of that wiring says, boy, this is a really stressful situation. I need how to learn to do this very, very well. Because it's a survival issue. It's a survival of the species issue. The monkeys that passed on their genes did so because they were actually really good at handling stress. So each time you compete, you're giving yourself a stress inoculation. That stress inoculation works regardless of the competition. USPSA, United States Practical Shooting Association, IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association, even the cowboys. You can shoot cowboy shooting. The buzzer still goes off next to your ear. You still need to complete a course of fire. I would strongly recommend that you take a good hard look at IDPA. Why? You get to compete with the gun you're carrying. That's an important thing. You're going to buy a carry gun. You're going to pick this gun and you're going to say, this is the best gun for me. Well, you can take this gun straight to an IDPA match and compete with it. You're also going to be using a covering garment. We talked about how that vest is a shorthand for covering garment. Well, you're going to be using that vest there, and each time you're going to have to draw from concealment. So not only are you getting the stress inoculation, but you're getting critical gun handling skills. And finally, we filmed a really interesting class several years back. It was an advanced concealed carry class, and there were 4 students. 2 of those students were roughly, I don't know, mid-level IDPA competitors. 2 of the students were people who felt very strongly that competition might give them some bad skills, might give them something that would get them hurt on the street. They're very dedicated in their practice. They shot against each other, competing on the range, spent 2 days, 3 days a week on the range. They had excellent shooting skills. But what happened was when the gun stops working, and believe me, anything made by people breaks. When the gun jammed, the competitors had no trouble because they'd cleared a lot of jams. They tapped, they racked, they went bang, it worked. Because they'd done it so many times on the range. Their gun handling skills were wildly superior to 2 guys who had excellent marksmanship skills. If you told them to shoot a target at 50 yards, they were perfect. But under that stress of the buzzer, they made gun handling mistakes. The more you shoot, the better your gun handling. And in anything like IDPA competition, and by the way, this was a stage from the IDPA World Championships, you're going to learn the right gun handling skills the right way.
Michael's right. And yet another reason for those that are interested in concealed carry to take up a sport like IDPA.
Yeah, from all the videos on Panteao's website, it looks like a lot of fun. And now let's go to Massad Ayoob.
A good alarm system is an important component in your whole security package. As far as the hardware, that's changing constantly, and what was new and state-of-the-art yesterday may be obsolete by tomorrow. The other thing is you have to look at not just the hardware, but the quality and integrity of the installation and the installer. There are probably more incompetent and fly-by-night alarm installers than there are people who are fly-by-nights in any other segment of the security industry. How do you find out who's for real? Certainly you can check through your local business bureau insofar as registered complaints. But I've personally found the best bet is to talk with the local cops and ask them what system with what installer they're using to protect their family and their babies at home in the nest when they're at work. Your local cops know who has the good equipment and who's installing junk. They know who's going to give you a system that'll work right and who's going to give you a system that gives you false alarms every time there's a thunderstorm. You want to make sure that the appropriate people in the family know how to use the system to prevent false alarms. And a couple of other things that slip by a lot of folks. If you look here closely at this one, you can see that the brand has been blocked out. We're not doing that just for videography reasons. Your top-level professional burglars will make a point of seeking out people in the community who are tradesmen who have access to other people's homes, but might, that is the tradesman, have a substance abuse problem or be in debt, and in some way can be suborned under the burglar's will to become essentially a scout for them. They get paid a piece of the action every time they tell the burglar what house has stuff that's worth stealing. The people in the home may have told that tradesman when they're going on vacation, and the tradesman will have been primed by the burglar to scout out the location and tell them, do they have a big dog? Where are the locks? What kind of alarm system do they have? Some of you more sophisticated burglars will be able to figure out how to bypass certain systems. And for that reason, it's not a great idea to advertise what type of system you have, in my opinion. Now, it's common in crime prevention literature to tell folks not only put the big sign outside that you have an alarm system to deter the amateur burglars, which it actually does to some degree. They'll tell you if you have a low budget, get a sign from somebody who has the system and put the sign in the front yard and hope that scares off the low-level burglars. And some of the low-level burglars looking for the low-hanging fruit, it probably will. If you're worried about the sophisticated ones, and the more wealth you have, the bigger your gun collection, for example, the better a target you are, the more likely you are to attract the more sophisticated burglars and home invaders. You might want to consider work a deal with a friend of yours who has a quality alarm system as good as yours, but a different brand. If you have, let's say, ADT and he has, let's say, Brinks, simply swap signs. Now we've got a Brinks sign in front of the house that's actually protected by a different ADT system, and vice versa at the other house down the road. And that's one more stop point and one more stumbling block for the kind of professional burglar who is smart enough to bypass an electronic alarm system. Obviously, you're going to make sure that you've alarmed key entry points to the home, the windows, the doors, but there are other points too that some folks miss. Come along with me and we'll show you one example. Here in the attached garage, we can see an access point that some homeowners and even many alarm installers miss. If you look up here, a sensor has been attached to the attic access hatchway. A creative burglar can get up on the garage roof, chop through basically the roofing material, get into the crawl space, and now get in through the soft, unprotected underbelly, or in this case, overbelly of the structure. You've got to start thinking like a burglar and ask yourself, how would I break into this place? You'd probably need a ladder to get up there, and this is why we always recommend that you not leave things like ladders and step ladders laying around on the property. It's not just two-story and higher homes that you have to worry about that. Access onto the roof of a one-story home can be something a burglar can work with too.
An alarm system in your house is a must, even if you live in an apartment.
I agree. And now let's go to some pro tips from Dean Caputo and Bob Vogel.
Wait. No, hold up. No. We've received a ton of fan mail at Make Ready TV, and we're really happy about that. And we've received some fan mail about wanting a little bit more action, more guns. You know who you are out there. So we figured, you know what? Let's give you some guns. Let's do some carbines. You know who you are. This is for you.
Okay. Cue the carbines.
Now can we show the pro tips?
No. We showed you carbines. Let's do pistols.
What the heck? Cue the pistols.
Can we have one pro tip?
Nah. Carbines? Check. Pistols? Check. Shotguns? Let's go there.
I know. Cue the shotguns.
I give up.
This wasn't my idea.
Mine neither.
Carbines? Check. Pistols? Check. Shotguns? Check. Let's blow some shit up.
All right, cue the... Wait, what are we blowing up?
Gotta admit, that was pretty cool.
Don't encourage him.
How about cannons? Yeah, everyone likes cannons.
You know this is your fault.
How's it my fault?
It's your fault. Not a word. Not
What?
a word.
You know you like that.
Okay, we covered carbines, pistols, shotguns, blowing stuff up, cannons. What's left?
Bikinis?
Those are other videos. Cars. Fast movers. Oh, yeah.
Bikinis? Really?
Yeah.
Make Ready TV is brought to you by Battle Comp Enterprises, Brownells, the SIG Academy, Rand Innovations, and Corbond.
Well, that wraps up the episode.
Yeah. And for more one-on-one training with our instructors, either via streaming video or DVD, make sure and check out our website at makereadytv.com.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
The Make Ready DVDs are available from brownells.com.
All right, we got a good stretch here.
For more bikini videos,
Yeah.
either streaming or on DVD.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed the show. Why'd you have to laugh? I thought we were just doing my line.